A guy called Armin who is interviewing high-ranking authorities is first seen in the first scene. Armin struggles to manage the camera and maintain correct focus on his subjects, which reveals his inexperience. When Armin finally finishes and submits his report to his supervisor, he discovers that the camera was not actually recording the entire time. The boss is enraged by this and storms out of the room. We then get a full introduction to our protagonist. Armin is a financially strapped bachelor who lacks direction and lives by himself in a modest apartment. When he welcomes a woman called Rosa to his home, he reveals a lack of knowledge towards women. He plays music appropriate for precoital encounters in an effort to evoke a romantic mood. Rosa asks to borrow his toothbrush, but Armin declines and hands her a fresh one. Rosa is outraged by this behavior, so she walks away silently. The following scenario finds Armin visiting his parents' home to see his sick grandma. Armin's personal life is problematic as a result of his father abandoning his mother, and his current relationship with Lilo, a younger girlfriend. Armin sits with his grandmother that night, lays his head on her shoulder, and reassures her that everything will be well. Armin chooses to visit his biological mother the following evening against his father's opposition. He thinks his mother will be there to greet him. He makes a lengthy trip to his mother's house only to find her enjoying herself with her friends. He silently exits with tears in his eyes after feeling rejected by the sight. He continues driving to a river beachfront where he witnesses revelers having a cruise party, which makes him feel even more alone. The next morning, Armin awakens in his car and makes the decision to visit the neighborhood grocery shop to get some food. He enters the store and sees that it is empty. When he shouts out for the cashier and turns to look around, nobody answers him. He takes a few things and, as a kind gesture, places some cash on the cashier's table. As he leaves the grocery shop, he finds a few automobiles and motorcycles at the petrol station still going. He does not pay much attention though, and keeps driving. Armin gradually begins to feel uneasy as a result of the deserted roadways. Soon later, he finds numerous scooters in the middle of the road that have been left abandoned. He tries to get in touch with his father after experiencing a strange feeling but is unable. He hurries back to his father's house out of panic. When he gets there, he discovers that the door is locked from the inside, so he knocks. As the silence grows more disturbing, he breaks the entry door with force. He only finds his grandmother's lifeless body inside, lying on the bed. He becomes alarmed by this and cries out for assistance, but once more no one hears him. Without a choice, he enters the home of Lothar, a neighbor, but only discovers Cosmo, the family dog. Armin comes home and muses to himself since he cannot understand what is occurring. He becomes even more perplexed when he notices that there is no network signal on his phone and that there is no water in the faucets. He soon hears a sound coming from the front door. When he checks on it, he finds Cosmo, who is hurt and is nearing its end. Armin, who thinks that someone is to blame for everything, obtains a weapon and goes to Lothar's house to face the alleged intruder. His supposition is incorrect though, as he discovers no one there. The next morning, Armin performs his grandmother's final ritual after improvising a shower with a bottle of water. He gathers all the books, copies, and paperwork for this, arranges them under his grandmother's bed, douses them in gasoline, and then lights them on fire. He then sets off on a drive along a deserted country road, passing other abandoned cars along the way. Soon after that, he spots a stylish police sports vehicle. Armin jumps in the automobile and enthusiastically likes the journey despite never having experienced a fancy vehicle before. After some time, he enters a tunnel and finds a vehicle that has flipped and is now housing stranded horses. He instantly releases the animals from their captivity after feeling awful for them. The action then shifts to a few years later, where Armin is seen leading a farmer's lifestyle. In the forests of the lonely world, he has built a wooden home where he raises a variety of birds and animals, including chickens, ducks, horses, and goats. As he makes his own clothes, hunts for food, and takes care of his animal pals, it is clear that he has adjusted to living alone. In addition to all of this, he is also developing a novel device that uses water from a local river to create power. Armin is startled out of sleep one night by the noises of a rambunctious goat. When he goes to check on it, he finds that the goat is giving birth. Armin is deeply joyful as he watches the childbirth process take place. His joy is short-lived, though, as a jackal snatches the newborn goat the very next morning. Armin uses his rifle to pursue the jackal out of sympathy for the mother goat, but his efforts are ineffective. He returns disheartened with nothing in hand and spends some time sobbing with the mother goat. One day Armin mounts his horse and travels off into the woods to forage for supplies. A wild dog suddenly attacks him and his horse as they venture deeper into the woods. Armin kills the dog quickly, but in the process, he falls off his horse and suffers a head injury, which renders him unconscious. After some while, we witness someone showing up at the site with a torch and looking at the injured Armin. When Armin awakens in the morning, he discovers that he is being kept warm by an aluminum foil covering. He had no idea how he got into that situation. He ponders for a bit before returning to his house. Armin observes a station wagon approaching his location later in the evening. He gets a rod to use as a weapon and hides behind a bush because he thinks it could be a threat. Soon after, a woman by the name of Kirsty comes up to him with a shotgun and ordering him to put it down. The latter agrees and throws the rod aside since he is too afraid to attack. Kirsty also puts her gun down and makes her way back to her car. The following morning, when Armin awakens, he finds food right next to him. It has been a while since he last had such a dinner, so when he eats it, he is surprised by how good it is. A little while later, Kirsty enters and sees a wound on his leg. She gets first aid materials from her car and attends to his injury after realizing how serious it is. Later, while they have a cup of coffee together, Kirsty asks Armin why he decided to live here rather than in a city. He replies that he has a sense of belonging here, which is why. When he follows up by asking Kirsty whether she has come across any other people, she responds that he is the first. Armin takes her hand while they continue speaking, enjoying the feeling of human contact after a long time. They have a passionate kiss after being overjoyed to have discovered each other, and gradually start to become close. They start a life together as a couple after that day and live in Armin's self-built house. The following scene shows Kirsty and Armin working diligently in the field. Kirsty talks about her terrifying experience in Syria while they are working. She describes how her car broke down and left her stuck in the wide Syrian desert for 3 torturous days without a drop of water. Additionally, Kirsty confides in Armin her wish to travel to Berlin, but Armin rejects the city as dull and uninteresting. Armin spends time and effort on his most recent innovation, which uses river water to create electricity, in addition to their regular chores. He perseveres through multiple setbacks and failures and ultimately succeeds in creating a sufficient power source for their home. The pair seems to be having a nice life together as the days go by. They put forth a lot of effort in the fields, eat together, and enjoy downtime by going swimming in the neighboring river. However, when Armin declares his wish to have a child, their joyful existence starts to deteriorate. Kirsty fiercely rejects the proposal, claiming that having a kid in this post-apocalyptic world is not something she wants to do. She grows irate and leaves quickly when Armin persists, leaving him all alone once more. The following evening, as Armin prepares to dine, a recreational vehicle pulls up close to his house and captures his interest. He steps outside curious to investigate, only to see Kirsty inside the car with a dog. Kirsty shares bits and pieces of her prior life while the two talk. She reveals that she had been profoundly in love with a man for 7 years and was excited about having children with him. She was unsure, though, as he insisted again that she wait. Then, on a pivotal day, his kid showed up unannounced at their house. According to Kirsty, she wasted 7 years of her life with a man she hardly knew, which led to a breakup that permanently altered her outlook. She appears to have grown more tough and independent as a result of this experience. Kirsty also says that she wants to go to the south with Armin. He gently rejects, stating that he must stay behind to care for his beloved animals. Later, the two travel to the neighborhood supermarket to get some drinks. Kirsty's reappearance makes Armin happy, so he switches on some music and starts dancing with her. After savoring the moment for a bit, the two of them return home. Armin seemed happy while Kirsty appeared dejected. She is obviously bothered by something. Their RV's tire unexpectedly punctures while they are traveling. When Kirsty notices this, she lets Armin know she plans to depart by asking him to fix the tire by the next morning. Armin is saddened by this and wonders whether she'll come back. Simply said, Kirsty advises, "Don't wait for me." She goes to bed when night comes, but Armin is restless. He simply stands in front of her and keeps gazing at her lovely face. Kirsty gets up in the morning and makes herself a cup of coffee. She finds Armin's recipe book at that same moment, which captures her interest. She flips through its pages and smiles as she sees a picture of Armin with his grandma. Armin returns her RV at the same time after successfully resolving the tire issue. He hands her the car keys and warns her not to go faster than 80 miles per hour since the tires could get unstable. A little while later, Kersey and Armin kiss one final time, and she thanks him for mending her tires and letting her go. Armin catches her as she is about to leave in her car. He decides on the spur of the moment to accompany her since he doesn't want to be alone again. He requests that she hold off for a little period of time as he releases all of his creatures. He starts by releasing the animals from their cages after receiving this request. However, just as he finishes, Kersey abruptly pulls away, leaving him behind.